Okay, so we are on air and we are recording. And that's a good sign. Okay, so now I'm sorry. Oh, this is a bother. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so we were talking about the Agile reverse triangle yesterday. So in the traditional waterfall model, we have a fixed scope. And with reference to that scope, we estimate the time, we estimate the cost, and we decide upon the quality. Well, in case of Agile, I'm sorry, we fix the time, okay? I mean, like the iterations are time boxed. So the time is fixed. It could be either 2 months or 3 months. And then we fix the cost. So the cost in the sense the team is constant, the skill set of the team is constant. So the cost is fixed. Quality, we also decide upon the quality, saying that we'll be delivering something like 100% quality or whatever that we understand. Okay. So now, what becomes variable? Now, what becomes variable is features, because within a fixed amount of time, now if you say that I want something additional, you can't do it because you have already estimated the time. So if you want something new, then you have to drop off something old. So if there are 10 items that you are going to deliver in 2 months, and now you say I want 12 items, I mean 2 additional. So now if those 2 additional are required, then something has to be dropped off from the earlier 10 items. So that is what we say, that we vary, or we have features which are variable. That's the Agile reverse triangle, wherein in Agile the functionality or the features are increased or decreased, but we keep the time and resources fixed, that is time and cost. While in case of traditional or waterfall, we fix the functionality, which is the scope, and then we play around with time and resources. The next is time box. It is very important to understand this concept of time box, because even our exam is time boxed. Let's say we are writing a 100 marks paper, it's for 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever is the time limit. So once the time is over, after that, no matter what happens, even if your entire answer paper is blank, it is taken away. So if your exam starts at 10 and ends at 1, and if you reach at 12 o'clock, so your exam does not become variable that now it will be from 12 to 3. It is time box. It starts at 10, gets over at 1. Within that duration, you can write whatever you want. Now, that is a different matter, that we have those restrictions where you cannot reach the the place where you have to appear for the exam after 30 minutes or whatever. But if you assume, or for that matter, even if you say that you reach at 10:25, so you have lost 25 minutes. So you will not be granted 25 minutes more. The exam is time box. So that is what it says. Act of putting strict time boundaries around an action or activity. Similar to what we do for exam. 10 to 1, you reach at 10:25, that's your problem. How to cover up those 25 minutes, that's your problem. Okay? And whatever you could not write, you could not write. So similar is this, when we are doing one iteration in Agile, say you have a time box of 1 month. Now during that 1 month, you say that I will deliver 10 things. So you are doing very well, and on the 6th thing, you observe that you face some issues and it doesn't go well. So you take additional time. But that doesn't mean that you will get additional time after 1 month to deliver whatever you have to deliver. Okay? You will deliver only what you have completed at the end of 1 month. You will not deliver all the 10 things. But your time box is over. Your exam time is over. 3 hours are over. You have to submit the paper anyhow, whatever you have written. So whether you pass or fail, that's none of their business. So similar here, you have delivered 6 or 7 things. You have delivered 7 items out of 10. And your time box of 1 month is over. That's it. So you can deliver only 7. You can't say, okay, for this 3, I need additional time and maybe in next 2 days I'll complete that. No, you don't get that. So what happens to the 3 items that you did not do? Because finally, in the exam you can fail, you can reappear. In the project you can't do that. You don't do a project to fail. You always do a project to succeed. So what happens to those 3 items? Now those 3 items are left undone. So what you need to complete that. So again, whatever is left, those 3 items are deposited back to the list and you get it back again. Okay? So with this boundary, we focus on the most important first. So now when you have faced the issue, you can't say that I'll leave the issue for the 6th item because I have to complete 10 items, so I will run behind other 3. If that issue is important, you will chase that issue. If that issue, the 6th item is not so important, then you can leave that issue aside and pursue the balanced 3 items. So that is very important. You need to understand what is on priority. If the 6th item is on priority, then you have to chase that issue. If not, then you have to chase the other 3. And then guards against the feature creep. So how it guards against the feature creep is, you have a plan to deliver 10 items and the customer or the end user or probably one of the stakeholders says, all right, I want something of this. Okay, this was not a part of your deliverable at all. Whatever you agreed on those 10 items, this was never a part of the deliverable. They're just trying to attach this extra feature or extra functionality into one of the items, and they're saying it was always a part. But it was never a part. We never agreed to give that. Okay, so if that is utmost important, then of course you have to negotiate with the customer saying that if this is important, then I'll have to drop off something else. Because my boundary is fixed. My boundary is 1 month. Beyond that, I cannot deliver. Beyond that, I will not take up anything. I have already planned to deliver 10 things such that it fits into the time span of 1 month. Now you are giving me something additional. What do? I'll have to drop off something. I cannot deliver these 2 additional things. So that is where the feature creep is guarded by this time boxing. So now we go to Scrum. Now in this presentation, on this slide, there is a URL which you can use to download the Scrum guide. It's in PDF format. You have it in multiple languages. You can download it in English. I think I shared one URL this morning, the Scrum guide audio. It's an audio version. This is the PDF. You also have the audio version. Someone was eager enough, and he recorded his own voice reading the entire Scrum guide. So if you don't want to keep on reading, of course, it is a very small guide. I think it's about 40 pages. But yet, if you don't want to read that and while you work, you want to hear that, you can download that audio. So the audio version is also very good. So Scrum is a agile methodology. So it was developed by Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber. This person is Jeff Sutherland and this is Ken Schwaber. Ken Schwaber is no more. He was killed in a car accident last year. But Jeff Sutherland is still there and he is still conducting classrooms. He's bringing up something new called as Scrum at Scale, which is expanding the horizons of Scrum. So right now he's working on that. He's bringing out another framework. Not bringing it, actually he's already brought it out, but then it's not yet publicized, and not many people would probably know. All those who are deep involved in Scrum, they will definitely know this new thing that is coming up. So this is basically a process framework. So it is not a prescription. They just give you the guidelines. The Scrum gives you a guideline. And based on those guidelines, you need to follow those guidelines and implement those into a full-fledged agile methodology. So it is lightweight. Since it is a framework, it's basically lightweight. Very simple to understand, but very difficult to master. Now, as we go along, you will realize that why this is said, that it is simple to understand and difficult to master. Since it is a framework and it's a 40-page guide, you will think that it's so simple. But when you actually start using Scrum, start using the 12 principles of Agile, start actually absorbing the 4 values which are mentioned in the Agile manifesto, then you will realize that why is it difficult to master. So you can download the guide, go through the guide. If you have any questions in the content of the guide, you can definitely ask me. But as we go through the training, probably your doubts, your questions will also get resolved. So in the introductory part, I'll talk about Scrum. And then as we go along for the Agile part, then basically Scrum would be a branch of Agile. I'll be mostly talking about the methodology of Scrum and extreme programming, because that is the maximum that is being used as part of Agile. There are others like Lean, Kanban, test-driven development, then feature-driven development, and so on and so forth. But mostly it's Scrum. Scrum, extreme programming, sometimes Lean, Kanban, and Crystal. So basically in Scrum, we have got 3 roles. Okay, the 4th one, I'll explain why I've included the 4th one. But as per Scrum Guide, there are only 3 roles. One is the development team, one is the Scrum Master, one is the product owner. And last one which I've included is the stakeholders. So the entire group of three entities, that is the product owner, Scrum Master, and development team, is called as a Scrum team. Development team is basically the team who's actually executing that project, either doing a development or doing the DBA work, doing the testing work, doing the UI work, etc. So it's mostly people who are highly technical. Scrum Master, sometimes you tend to equate that person to a project manager or a project lead, but Scrum Master is not a project manager, not a project lead. So we have to basically come out of the mindset of Agile. Of waterfall, where somebody is controlling, somebody is asking you questions, somebody is giving you directions, somebody is saying, "Acha, isko chodo, usko le lo." Okay, that is not the case. in Agile methodology, no one is controlling it. So in the slide of why Agile, there's one thing that we came across was self-organizing team. So this team is self-organizing. They know what to do. Okay, they know how to do. They don't need anyone to tell them that you have to do this or you have to do that. The team is mature enough. Okay. Now, when we start doing Agile, that time the team is not mature. And that's why you need a Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is nothing but he's an Agile coach. Okay. He is the person who is continuously guiding the team for going the Agile way. What it means? A Scrum Master or the Agile coach, he's supposed to keep in mind that the 12 principles of Agile and 4 values that are mentioned in the manifesto, those are always adhered to. That's the basic role of a Scrum Master and or Agile coach when the team is not mature. When the team is mature, there is no need for the Scrum Master to intervene. But there are a lot of problems which could come up because of the stakeholders, or probably there is some technical problem, or there is some logistics problem, there is an infrastructure problem. Anything that is going to defocus the development team from delivering the target within the time box, the Scrum Master is supposed to deal with that when the team is mature. When the team is not mature, his primary duty is Agile coach, and secondary duty is all this, removing all the impediments or hurdles that the development team is coming across. Scrum Master need not be technical. He may not understand technical aspects. So even if there is a technical problem, the Scrum Master can solve it because he has got access to the entire organization, where he may loan someone. Okay, he may procure someone on loan who is a subject matter expert or a technical expert, and that person can guide the team. That person will not participate in the development activities. That person will guide the team and sail them through whatever the hurdle they have. Remember this point, once the development team is formed, there is no other external party who interferes with that development team. Next is the product owner. Now, before that, we'll understand what are the stakeholders. So this area entirely is stakeholders. Now, like I said, in waterfall or PMP, what they call it as in an individual or a group who negatively influence or positively influence the results of a project are stakeholders. So that is basically the traditional method, where we say that people or group of people who are negatively influencing, positively influencing the result of the project. Okay. In Agile, we say anyone who is contributing towards the project outcome is a stakeholder. Now, that contribution, we don't talk about negative at all, because we are not doing a project for failing. Okay. In PMP style, yes, we consider that, wherein we say that there is a risk of failure, etc. In Agile, we don't think about failure. We only think about getting successful. So anyone who's contributing towards the project outcome is a stakeholder. So it could be a end user, it could be a supplier, it could be a customer, it could be the CFO, it could be a CTO, it could be probably even the driver, whoever it is. Okay? So everybody is a stakeholder. The business analyst, the IT guy, the infrastructure guy, all those people are stakeholders. And one of them, mind you, only one of them. It's not a group, it's not like PMO. No, it's only one. One person acts as a representative for this entire stakeholder community and that is the product owner. Any requirement that comes in, okay, it comes only via the product owner. No stakeholder will directly interact with the development team कि यार दोस्ती खाता है इतना मेरे लिए पटा दे. No, it has to come through the product owner. Now, the Scrum Master's role, what I said, was to remove impediments. So as the project progresses along and as per the Agile principle, the business users and the development team is supposed to work on it together on a daily basis or as frequent as possible. So now they become friends. And once they become friends, apne ko ye thoda pata ke de do, it could be an attitude that you could do it for me. We are friends now. But then that does not fit into our method. That does not fit in our framework. We have not committed that as a part of the deliverable. So if the development team is not sensitive enough to such things where we are violating the Agile principles or we are violating the Agile values, then it is the duty of the Scrum Master to bring them back on track, saying that the requirements need to come through the product owner. If the product owner is apprehensive about that, then the Scrum Master really becomes a master, wherein he would flatly deny, saying that development team is not going to take any instructions from anyone from the stakeholder community except you. Okay? And those are not basically instructions, but those are the requirements which are flowing into for the development. So that is a product owner. He is only one individual. Okay? He is responsible for all the requirements that are coming in, and he is also responsible for all the deliveries that are going on. I mean, of course, the development team and the Scrum Master are all equally responsible for the deliveries, but the inflow and outflow is controlled by the product owner. Now, of course, since product owner is the representative of the entire bunch of stakeholders, so whatever he says is final. That means he has a dual role to play. He has to basically coordinate and get everything from the stakeholders, and then he has to pass it on to the development team, get a schedule from development team, and let the business users or the stakeholders know as to when the delivery could be possible. As we go forward, we'll come to know, we'll understand that how this particular product owner also functions, how the Scrum Master functions, and how the development team functions. We'll cover this one more of development team, and then we'll stop there. The development team basically it consists of, like I said, all the technical guys. So here you can see a developer, QA, DBA, UI, UX designer, etc. Typically, this team size is of 8 to 12 people, not more than that. Okay, recommended is 9, but up till 12 it is okay. It is highly recommended that the entire development team is co-located. Now, what does it mean by co-located? Is that all of them should be in the same room. Okay, so it's not in the same building. Yeah, it cannot be that I am on the 3rd floor and you are my teammate and you are on the 5th floor. No, we both are supposed to be in the same room. There's a large room, then you have a large round table, and all the team members sit together. There is no barrier. There is no cube. Okay, everybody sits in the open, just next to each other. Whatever you are talking, maybe on the phone, maybe with your colleague, I can hear. Whatever I am talking, you can hear. Okay. Now, the other aspects, I'll get into those details, but it is highly recommended that the team is co-located. Now again, back in 2001, 2002, this co-location was possible. You could get all the guys together in one room. But now with virtual working, virtual methodologies, now this is very difficult. So now, in the current scenario, most of the things need to be mimicked for co-location. So like you'll have to use, probably you'll have to use Skype, or you'll have to use WebEx, or you'll have to use GoToMeeting for doing all kinds of meetings. For probably, regular communication, you can use, like we use Hangouts. So all these virtual aspects need to be considered, and an environment similar to co-location has to be created. So there are various tools available online for running an agile project. Like we have for waterfall also, we do have similar kinds. So even for agile, there are various tools that are available which can support the agile methodology of working. So that way we can achieve co-location. Normally there is no larger team size, because larger team size then adds complexity. I mean, even if we are virtually co-located, but yet the team size is between 9 to 12. It should not exceed that. T factor, I'll come to it a bit later. When you don't have a very large team size, so then handing off operations or handing off something, like for some reason I am going on leave or I have some emergency, then handing off the things become much more easy, because most of the time, most of the people know what the other person is doing because of that small team size. So it minimizes handoffs. Or probably, for some reason, you are dealing with an issue on your deliverable. The next one was in line for you. It was in your queue. But because you are tackling some issue and that issue is really important, you cannot skip that. So I can pick up the next next deliverable in your queue, and I can start working on that without you having me to hand off saying that this is the requirement, this is the document, and this is the explanation. You don't need to do that because our team is small. I know what you have discussed. I probably do not know in detail, but I know most of it. Some part which is not clear, I can ask you. This also minimizes knowledge leaks. So, like, if you have learned fixed assets, okay, and you're talking about fixed assets, and you impart that knowledge to me. I mean, while you're working, I'm working, and we have some time off or whatever. So you basically transfer that knowledge to me. Now, since this is 1:1 or 1:2 or 1:3 or at the most 1:12, so there is no knowledge leak. It's directly one-to-one kind of a communication. Then the tacit knowledge. Now, once you are co-located, there is definitely something which, like for example, let's take an example of a printer, and there is a printer jam, okay? And you have been dealing with that printer jam 3-4 times. Now, on one of the days, you are not there, and there is a printer jam. And then, obviously, someone who's been doing it regularly, and if that person is not there, then it's kind of a inconvenience to people. But because I have been seeing you dealing with that printer jam most of the times, somehow I have also learned by just observing you. That is called as a tacit knowledge. So I volunteer saying that, okay, I can deal with this, don't worry about it. And then I help with that printer jam, and then that part is taken care of. So this is called as tacit knowledge. You did not explicitly, call me saying that, see, this is the printer jam, I'm dealing with this. I saw you. I saw you dealing with that printer jam multiple times. And I learned it automatically because it's happening in front of me. That is tacit knowledge. Then is osmotic communication. Osmotic communication is basically you and I are talking and I'm saying, okay, tomorrow we have downtime for dev UI because Milind has asked for a refresh. The next day, probably someone from the group is trying to access dev UI and they are not able to do it. And they try to hunt for me and I'm not around. So probably on a group chat, or maybe the person sends out an email to the group saying that, boss, is the dev UI down? So now, because you have overheard me talking to someone saying that tomorrow there is a downtime for dev UI, you immediately get a cross saying that, boss, today is a downtime for dev UI and it will not be available from this time to that time. Now that is osmotic communication. I was talking to someone else and you heard. It is not overhearing, okay? It is not overhearing, or, whatever they call it. It's not like that. कि तुम दरवाजे के पीछे खड़े रह के सुन लिया कि अरे ऐसा है. No, I spoke in front of you. Okay, you heard that while you were working. I mean, you caught it. It was obvious because you are sitting beside me. So you caught it that this is going to happen. And when that question comes in, you remember. That is called as osmotic communication. The next is use of low-tech and high-touch tools. So like in case of waterfall model, where they use a project plan in MS Project. So probably half of the people don't know how to use MS Project. And even if you have a MS Project server, then the access is only granted to the project manager. So all the time the project manager is playing around with that project plan. You don't have any access. Even if you complete a task, you have to go to the project manager saying, boss, I have completed this, so can you please update the project plan? And he will do it for you. You can't do it. So in our case, it's basically each and every individual in the team. He has got access to the plan and he can update the plan. So whatever he has started, whatever is in progress, whatever he has completed, he can update the plan that this is what I am doing and this is what is completed. There's no project manager, so there is no one else to update the plan. It's the individual. And when you want this to happen, then it is always all the more better if you have something very user-friendly. You don't need to teach people how to move things on the whiteboard, how to write on the whiteboard. You don't need to teach them. They know it. While MS Project, you have to teach them. That is why it is use of low-tech and high-touch tools. Last thing is key factor plays an important role. Now, what is the key factor? Key factor is basically, you'll see the letter T, which has got a horizontal line and a vertical line. Now, vertical line is basically your primary skill. So for us, I mean, on the whole, if you see, our primary skill is 4GL programming for QAD. That is your primary skill. But you also know what is MEG Pro functional. You probably know what is how to create a database or how to shut down a database and start a database. So you know partially DBA work. So that comes in your vertical. Okay. So if at all there is a problem, say on the functional side, you can handle it. You may not be proficient, but you can handle it. Or if there is a problem with the database and it needs to be started up, you can at least start it up. You may not be able to troubleshoot as to why the database went down, but you can at least start up. So that comes on your horizontal side. So this particular depth is your primary skill, and the horizontal part or the breadth, those are your secondary skills. So each and every individual has, on the Agile team, has got a T factor, the depth and the breadth. The depth is the primary skill, the breadth is the secondary skill. And that is why we have the team size limited to 9 or 12 people, because each of the person is some way or the other interchangeable with the other person. It may not be to the full extent, but people are interchangeable because they own this key factor. So that's about the development team. I think we'll stop here because, we have gone beyond time, but we'll continue from here tomorrow. Are there any questions before we close? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And tomorrow we don't have this particular. Let me see. I think we don't have the class.
Yes, tomorrow and day after tomorrow.
It's directly on Monday now, so we don't have a.
On Monday.
That's right. Okay.
Okay, see you on Monday.
See you on Monday.